We can either do that or we have the potential member as well who's here.
Okay.
You want to do that after minutes?
Okay, let's do the introductions after minutes, since I put the minutes up front here. So does anybody have any edits?
I don't. They look great.
Yeah, I thought they're great.
Oh, there goes my printer. I don't know what's going on. All right, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as written?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor by roll call vote?
Kulik,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Otto.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And now, let's see, we have a potential member, Melinda Upton.
Yes, I think she's just loading in. Just give her 1 second. So, just as a quick background, while Melinda loads in, she submitted her citizens activity request to the board to join us. I did talk with her briefly before town meeting, but I see that she's loaded in, so I'll let her do a brief intro, and we can go from there.
Terrific. Thank you very much for meeting with me tonight. My name is Melinda Upton. I've lived in Southborough for 28 years. I live on 35 Woodland Road, so I have certainly seen a lot of development in the town. I have closely watched a lot of the changes, many fantastic, some perhaps could have been done differently. But as I've reached the point in my life where my kids are now out of the house, I have a bit more time to think about how I can give back to this community that has been so wonderful for me and for my family. Conservation Commission is one that is particularly interesting to me because I do have a passion for the balance of the needs of protecting our vital resources, and particularly the watersheds of our community, while also allowing for responsible development in our town. And I think that's what this committee focuses on as one of your primary roles, although you probably do other things too that I don't know about. But it seemed like you had a great mission and a great purpose and well aligned with what I would like to be doing in this next chapter of my life.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And we do get our feet wet.
Well, I have to say, I don't know if you know her or not, but I think you might. Carolyn Gorse was my neighbor for many years on Woodland Road. And
Okay.
very friendly with their family. And Carolyn was actually over at my house the night before last to look at salamanders with me because my house abuts the conservation land on Breakneck Hill. So we saw some wonderful salamanders and some egg masses and other things in the vernal pond, just steps from my back door.
Awesome. That's awesome. Anybody have any questions or commentary for Melinda?
Just a comment. So, in addition to resource area protection, the wetlands and waterways in town, the other thing that's becoming a bigger we do is open space protection. So there are a number of pieces of property and conservation restrictions that are put under the care and control of conservation, and that went from taking up very little of our time to becoming more and more like an important part of what we do. So Breakneck Hill Farm, Chestnut Hill Farm. We recently, the town acquired the Halloran property off of Mount Vickery. And it's another part of what we do. It's also pretty interesting.
It's wonderful. And I benefit directly from Breakneck Hill, but certainly have explored many of the woodland areas around the town, in part because my son was an Eagle Scout and did some work over in the town forest years ago, putting up a duck house. We might have even come before this commission when he wanted to do that project, but a lot of work on trails with Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts are sort of family activities for many of these things. So deeply aware of many of the plots of land that we've had and many opportunities for connecting plots of land with suitable land that may eventually become available to this town. So very exciting and important work. And then the one other thing that I have been involved with that I think is really exciting is I've been growing pollinator plants for the last several years with Freddie Gillespie.
Very good. So Melissa, will this be going in front of the select board?
Yes, as long as we want to make a vote tonight to favorably recommend Melinda, I can write that letter to the select board. And I think they said as early as their meeting, might even be, I know they have one tomorrow, but I think it's next week or the week after, that she could get on the agenda for appointment.
Do you have any
Sounds
questions for me, what I do in my work life or other things? I'm happy to talk about that too, if it's helpful.
What do you do for work?
I'm a vice president at the Mass General Brigham Healthcare System. And what I do is I help to bring physicians to community settings to enhance local care. An example would be you have a thoracic surgery program and a cancer program at Milford Regional Medical Center, where Brigham and Women's doctors go and provide care locally. And then when people need more sophisticated care, they come back into Boston.
Oh, that's great. There's an interesting mix of people on the conservation committee. And I found that not being an engineer makes me understand some things a little bit less than some of my counterparts here. But it's, they do a great job of explaining it. I think for me, who's not an engineer in some cases, or I can just trust that they have the expertise in that space. So I was going to give that as a fair warning of don't worry about some of the engineering speak that comes up, because we do have some experts on the board.
Well, that's good, because I'm certainly not trained as an engineer.
Nor am I.
I studied history and communications, but I do respect the work of engineers.
Well, that's why
A
it's
good
good to have a
balance.
good mix,
Yeah.
right? Because, those that are super, super technical, they sometimes can't see the bigger picture.
He's not talking about you, Ben. Okay.
Hey, Mark's an engineer too.
I know.
Not civil, but,
Yeah.
computers and such, and,
Yeah, the most
manage
important-
teams that do that sort of stuff too. So,
The most important qualification is an interest in, the subject material that we deal with. And it sounds like you've, had an interest in that for a long time. And it sounds like you'd be a fantastic fit.
Well, thank you for saying that. I certainly think I would learn a lot being part of this team and hopefully bring some value to the work we do, if I'm allowed to become part of the group. So should I sign off?
so from my perspective, all in favor?
Deal.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Melinda,
So-
you stay on. I'll move you as an attendee if you want to listen, but you're welcome, to leave if you have other things to do tonight. So it's
I
totally
do have other commitments tonight, but in the future, if I'm on this committee, I will certainly show up and stay the whole time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
You as well.
Okay, next up is 0 Pine Hill Road, map 79 lot 4, installation of well and residential garden. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 in the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, March 30, 2023 at 7 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a request for determination of applicability for a project located at 0 Pine Hill Road, map 79 lot 4 for the applicant Al Hamilton on behalf of the Pine Hill Meadow Trust, Inc. The project description is installation of well and residential garden.
Hi, I'm Al Hamilton. I can make a brief discussion, or I can simply answer questions if you like. I'm here with my wife, Diana, who's my co-conspirator in the garden. So the Pine Hill Meadow Trust owns 26 acres of land in the Pine Hill neighborhood that was designated as open space when the Lieberwald property was developed in the late 90s. We took responsibility for the parcels about 7 years ago when it was handed off from the developer's entity that held open space. We've done a number of things on the property that were supposed to have been done long ago, largely involving maintaining the meadow as a meadow as opposed to what I describe as pucker brush, but it's just part of the natural succession so that we could maintain the local sledding hill. About 3 years ago, my wife and I were attending a meeting at Rachel's Table, which is a surplus food harvesting organization that has a network of drivers that goes to places like supermarkets and restaurants and takes food that is perfectly good but is no longer saleable for whatever reason and takes it to shelters and food pantries. And we attended a fundraiser where they were describing the need for fresh produce, particularly in the summer. And I said to myself, well, I have a tractor and I know quite a bit about farming and raising vegetables because I've been a lifelong gardener and have a couple of degrees in agricultural economics. So I could start a small garden on this land that we own, and along with my co-trustee, we proceeded to do that. And we operate about a 10,000 square foot garden. Last year, we grew 3,000 pounds of fresh produce and would have grown significantly more if we had a reliable source of water. And about 900 pounds of that went to the Southborough Food Pantry. We believe we could grow at least another 1,000 pounds with a reliable source of water. So we started to look for, we did some fundraising and we started to look for how we could drill a well. In the process of drilling a well, we went to the health department and they sent us to the conservation department, and we discovered, much to our surprise, that our activities were not considered agriculture under the Massachusetts wetlands laws. That in order, looks like agriculture to me, but what do I know? In order to be agriculture under the wetlands bylaws, you actually have to sell your produce for money. If you give it away to people who are hungry, that's not agriculture, which no sense getting on the soapbox about that one. And so the purpose of this request is to see if we can't get right. Portions of the gardens are in the 100-foot zone, and the proposed location of the well is also within the 100-foot zone. And so we've sent you a fairly detailed management plan. It's really pretty much the management plan we've been executing on for this particular parcel, which we believe that the site is the best site for the gardens, and that the mitigations are, I think, in line with the spirit of what was intended in managing this particular open space parcel. So I'm hoping that you've had a chance to look at the document, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mark, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm having a sneezing fit, so I'm going to pass on to the other members for any questions. I'll be back.
So
Gesundheit.
has the Board of Health approved the well yet, or is that? Are they waiting
No,
on-
I need to clear this hurdle. I don't think it'll be a particular problem. This is an irrigation well, so there are special regulations for irrigation wells. For example, I don't need to go and do a water test. I do need to put up a sign that says, don't drink this water, effectively. They've got specific wording. So
Not potable.
once I clear this committee, hopefully, then I'll take my $100 and go over to the Board of Health. And I think that's relatively straightforward. I've spoken with them. I don't think it's a particular issue.
It looked like I was out wandering around at lunchtime today on that property, so I did get my feet wet. And it looked like it's going to be fairly close to a septic system that's sitting
That
up
is
there.
correct. There is a septic mound that is on the trust property that connects to the house on the corner of Greystone and Pine Hill Road. It's a long story about that. The well regulations say that I have to be 20 feet away from the leach fields. I am well beyond that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, no, believe me, I don't want to be pumping somebody's poop.
Oh, your vegetables will grow faster.
Yeah, well, that's true. Actually, it's an arcane thing, but that's a cycle you don't want to be involved in. You need to pass it through a different animal.
Yeah. Okay.
For disease issues, but it's a fascinating subject.
In the application, it says installation of well in residential garden. In your intro, is the garden going to be in the same place that it has been previously, or is it being moved?
No, well, we certainly want to keep it in the same place. We've invested in soil amendment in that area. We have an alternate spot if for some reason we can't do it there, but we think that spot is significantly inferior to the existing spot.
So we're primarily talking about the well.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Right. Thank you. And this is an RDA. Okay. Any other questions from anyone?
So Melissa, you were able to visit the site, and I saw you took some notes on that. Unfortunately wasn't able to join you today. Any observations or?
Yeah, there is, I saw some silt in the stream as it crosses under Pine Hill Road. I tried to kind of follow it up and couldn't find a reasonable source of it. I'm not sure if Al, you've seen anything kind of where that's coming from.
Yeah, that's something that we need to work. I know exactly where it goes because it goes into the pond behind my house. So yeah, we have had, when we get heavy rain, we do get some siltation, and any advice that you can give on how to manage that, because frankly, it ends up in my pond, would be appreciated. It does not seem to be a lot, but it's the same sort of siltation you would expect in any agricultural operation.
I think that I would start with looking at that basin and getting that back into control, because I'm sure that silt is coming from that basin.
We can certainly do that. That's not a
Because
problem.
that serves Greystone, maybe?
The basin that's immediately behind the garden.
Correct.
Yes, that I'm familiar with this because I actually built a sheet flow model at one point.
So I walked around it tonight, and there's a inlet on the north side.
Yes.
Or the Sudbury side. So I presume it's coming from Greystone. It's the only thing with the elevation to make it there.
Yes, no, it comes from Greystone. Yeah, the wetland essentially travels north and south towards Greystone.
I guess my thought process here is that they must have a neighborhood association, and
yes,
they should be handling cleaning this basin, get that thing fixed up.
I know the head of that association well, and I'll discuss it with them.
So even the inlet pipe had buildup in it. So it's probably hasn't been anything done there since they built it.
No, nothing's been done there since it's been built.
But I mean, even for the whole drainage system in the road, like even cleaning catch basins, I bet.
The only thing I've ever seen done there is the mosquito control guys come by once in a while.
Right.
By the way, this is on the trust property and I'm the president of the trust. So if Melissa wants to meet me at some point and make a recommendation on what should be done, we're happy to do it. We're trying to maintain the property properly.
Melissa, is there any historical maintenance documents with respect to this basin?
Anything? I think that possibly this got a superseding order from DEP. So I did find this plan that I put up that seemed to be about what the project was. It was both kind of for mitigation of flooding along Pine Hill and because of Greystone, from what I could put together. Yeah, I think there's definitely some maintenance that could happen that would help. I think, and also just kind of the way that the mowing has happened, because this wetland does kind of cross completely the width of the property. I think some of those flow channels have been a little bit disrupted. I noticed there was a lot of ponding, we've had rain, but I think it's probably picking up some silt from the property as well, just from where they're mowing and the tracks. But yeah, I think just some overall maintenance could probably help that sedimentation quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing this particular document. I was not aware that that the pipe ran like that. I thought it ran in a different way.
It's not. Yeah, this was just proposed. This is the only thing that I could find. I just found this today. So this is built. So I'm not sure how exact this is, but this was the original plan.
Does it have a date? 19.
Yeah.
This goes back to late 90s.
I suspect this is how it was built. It just.
Boy,
I know where those manhole covers are on the sidewalk. So,
Yeah, you might just have
we can, if you want to come, I'm happy to walk with you and we can come up with a plan. I have a small tractor that can probably dig it out if need.
Right, yeah, we can definitely do that. And if it is helpful, I can email this to you as well.
Yeah, that would be a big help. I always like documents that tell me what information about what we own.
Got it.
I bet you if we dug up John's notebooks, there'd be all kinds of information in there about this.
John.
Yeah, Dick Upjohn, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Those notes have been useful for the last 3 weeks between town meeting and various applications. I've had
Yeah, I mean,
I
now
walked
I
a lot of
see
this land with him when it was being developed.
Yeah, I remember this going to DEP with the superseding. Now that you mention it, that's quite a while ago. Okay, as far as the well goes, Mr. Hamilton, how's that going to be dug?
It's going to be drilled with sort of a conventional well drilling. The well driller says he needs a small, it's a drilled and cased well, which is sort of pretty standard.
On the back of a big truck?
He's got 2 big trucks.
Yeah.
Which we can get in there. And he does need to have a pit drilled to hold the bentonite for sealing the casing. And then, after we'll put down wattles to mitigate the erosion, and we will cover the pit up just as soon as he's done and put straw and seed it. And if he makes ruts, we'll clean those up.
If you could just.
And obviously you're looking to do this sooner than later so that you can have the water for this growing season.
It's it's planting season coming up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might ask that if you could just leave the wattles out until the vegetation has reestablished itself, before you pick the wattles up.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's standard practice, I think.
Okay, aside from the the discussion we had on the silt and where that's coming from and what we're going to do about that and recommendations dealing with the RDA, am I sensing a negative determination based on straw wattles and silt and proper care and undertaking of the site once it's been disturbed?
I'm assuming a negative determination is good.
Yes.
It is good.
All right.
A little bit.
Unless you want negatives.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion?
Do I have a
Russ, I saw
motion?
your mouth
So
move. You're
moved.
mute.
I know. I'll move it. So moved.
Okay. Do I hear a
I'll
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Reed, Smith,
Sounded like a yes to me.
Yes. Sorry.
okay, Smith,
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
All right, I will follow up with you tomorrow morning.
Okay, my understanding is there's a 10-day appeal period,
Correct.
and I'll probably be down at the health department tomorrow morning.
Perfect. I'll let Dennis know.
I'm meeting with the Dolmen anyway, so. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you for coming in.
Okay, next, request for determination of applicability, 30 Southfield Road, map 5, lot 52. Installation and repair of septic system. So in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southfield Wetlands Bylaw, Southfield Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, March 30, 2023 at 7:10 PM, a little bit past that, via virtual Zoom meeting. The Conservation Commission will consider a request for determination of applicability for a project located at 30 Southfield Road, map 5, lot 52 for the applicant JAH Properties. The project description is the installation of a septic system, repair of a septic system.
So I don't know if I need to go through and show the plans and all. But we had engineers come out on site and do perk testing. If you're familiar with the site's on the other side of a train track up on Southville Road. The location that they recommended for the leaching field relocation, because the perk testing is partly inside of the 200-foot barrier over here on the very left side of the document. I think that's the part that drove us to make this submission.
And how far away is that?
That's the 200-foot line that you can see it arcing.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
Half of it.
I see it now, yeah.
And if there's a berm to the south of that, and then a drop of about 12 feet, and then the train line, and then it crosses across and heads into the riverfront.
Okay, thank you. This is also an RDA? Yes. All right, does anybody have any questions for the applicant? I see nothing. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Typical erosion control in place.
Correct.
So I'm seeing a negative determination here as well. Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
All right, Andy, you're all set. I'll let Dennis know as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
great evening, everyone.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we have another RDA, 7 Dairy Farm Lane, map 72, lot 33. This is for an installation of a 20 by 40 in-ground pool. In accordance with Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southfield Wetlands Bylaw, the Southfield Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, March 30, 2023 at 7:20 PM via virtual Zoom meeting. Commission will consider requests for determination of applicability for a project located at 77 Dairy Farm Lane, map 72, lot 33, for the applicants and owners Sager and the light's bad here, Aisha Maganchi. The project description is installation of a 20 by 40 foot in-ground pool.
Yeah, so we have Patrick here. Oops, sorry, Patrick.
You go.
Just as a background, this is kind of a just in case RDA. The plan that we have, because this particular lot didn't have its own individual notice of intent. There's nothing to kind of administratively amend to include this. So they have submitted the RDA just in case that some of the construction, I think in possible patio or surrounding the pool goes into that 100-foot. And then Patrick is here to follow up with any other questions.
Yeah, it appears to me, based on the delineation, the 100-foot buffer line that was on a plan that was provided when the house was under construction, that everything that we're going to be doing, with the exception possibly of traveling around the pool with a backhoe, but to me, the yard is fairly flat. Everything's going to take place in terms of any activity is already an existing lawn area. We're not going to be stockpiling any material. Everything's going to have to leave the site because it's a pretty level yard. The patio that's proposed, certainly in the deeper part of the pool, closer to the easement in the wetland, is just a 2-foot coping going around the pool. So there's no extensive patio going. That's going to be up against the house. Standard with us, and certainly in areas where there are any sort of wetland issues, is a non-backwashing cartridge filter. And so there's no need to drain the pool. With our style pools, it's a vinyl pool. The pool remains full all the time. And the cartridge is cleaned at the end of the year. So there's no worrying about anything leaving the yard and going into the wetland or the easement.
So there's no, they call it filter flushing concern here or anything like that?
Yeah, no backwashing anymore, which is nice.
Yeah, okay. Not that it matters, but I just have to ask, is it salt or freshwater chlorine?
It's going to be all our pools now are salt water.
Mm.
So it will be a saltwater pool. So no chlorine being stored on site, all just being created naturally.
Not that it's within our jurisdiction. I was just curious.
Yeah, no, it's
Erosion controls between the work and the wetland proposed?
Yeah, so there's an existing barrier right now, right at the drainage easement. There's an erosion control that looks to be in really good shape. And we're going to be about 30 feet away from that. So to me, I can certainly put something else in front of it if that would make if that would be what you're looking for. But it looks to be that the erosion, I went over there and took a look at it. It looks to be in decent shape.
What is it? Is it a silt fence or a straw wattle or?
Silt fence.
Yeah, as long as it's solid and no holes in it, that's great.
Perfect.
As far as I'm concerned, maybe have a straw wattle on site in case something goes south.
Yep.
That's it.
Is it still tucked in?
It is.
Okay.
My non-problem site.
We're going to keep it that way.
Perfect.
Well said. All right. So do I hear another motion for a negative determination?
So moved.
Was a second?
Second.
All in favor?
You waited.
Zulik,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Osmato.
Yes.
All right, Patrick, you're all set.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you. Okay, next up is a request to amend the order condition for 206 Turnpike Road in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw. The Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a continued public hearing on Thursday, March 30, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider an amendment to an approved order of conditions, DEP number 290-1042 at 206 Turnpike Road, map 28, lot 3A, for the applicant CAC Auto Group Boston LLC. The project description is to remediate the unpermitted pavement and install stormwater management infrastructure.
Good evening, guys. My name is Dan Romero. I'm from Hancock Associates in Marlboro. I don't know, you just gave a pretty good background of what the project is. So I don't know if I have to go over any of the items again, but I know that the information you guys wanted was the for the 100-year storm, and to get some more details on the analysis, the drainage analysis of what would happen in the 100-year storm. And I provided a letter to to Melissa, and I assume you guys were able to look at it too, with a HydroCAD model modeling the deep marsh downstream from that area. We modeled a foot deep marsh there and saw what would happen in the 100-year storm with the flow that we had designed for. And there's actually, even though the peak flow is higher, the total volume going to that marsh is lower. So the stage of that marsh actually decreases in the post-development condition. So there's no risk for flooding. And also we provided an extension, a request for an extension of order conditions, so that we can extend the order of conditions before amending the order of conditions for filing, for ease of filing. So I think that was the major concern. I can answer any questions that you guys have.
So I think in terms of protocol and process, we probably should extend the order of conditions before we amend.
It's not unexpired. It's still good till July, so it really doesn't matter which way you do it.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Thank you for that. All right.
A heads up, so we don't have to wait
so,
a month.
sorry, I didn't explain that right. Yeah.
Yeah, because the original order didn't seem to be recorded. So my thought process is we issue the amendment that gets recorded at the registry, and then the extension gets recorded against the amendment.
All right. That, yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So in terms of the amendment, any questions or comments from commission members?
No, I took a look at the letter, and the demonstration of no impact is it's a typical way of doing it. If there's an adjacent water body showing that the change in water elevation, any change will be less than 1/100th of a foot, which they've demonstrated. They talk about it in the letter and demonstrated it in their HydroCAD calculations. There is a slight increase in the peak rate of flow. Mark, you pointed out last time, it's a doubling, but it's a doubling of a small number. Yeah. And because it's not a point discharge, it's shallow flow over a sort of wide expanse. We don't have to have concern about an existing channel or drainage infrastructure being overwhelmed. So I think they meet the requirements of the WPA, showing no negative impact. And the letter is in keeping with our past practice of having that demonstrated to us, and a letter provided to us by a registered professional engineer.
All right. Thanks for going through that, Ben. That's helpful. Any other comments, questions from other members? No? Yeah. Okay. So I think we can move forward with the amendment to the order of conditions. So do I hear a motion to move it forward?
I'll make the motion.
We should probably close and then issue. That's a hearing.
So I'll move to close.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Melissa, for keeping us honest here.
Second.
All in favor?
Zulik.
Yes.
Barrington.
Yes.
Gregory.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Alsamato.
Yes.
And then an issuance.
Since the next one is a continuance, you want to just wrap this one up in terms of amending and then extending?
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so do I hear a motion to amend the order conditions of 206 Turnpike Road?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington.
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alfano.
Yes. And then we have a request to extend the DEP order conditions for 206 Turnpike Road. It expires in June or July, you said, Melissa?
Yep.
So do I hear a motion to move that forward, to extend it?
So moved.
Oh, we should, for how long?
3 years.
What was that?
It's 3 years, right?
You can have anywhere from 1 to 3.
Okay, yeah, it would be the 3 years. Yeah.
So the 3-year extension.
That's what it has in the letter.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks. I don't have all my documentation. My printer went on a fritz.
Liz, did
All
you?
I think Elizabeth moved that.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
All right. Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington.
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alfano.
Yes.
All right. Dan, I should be able to get this to you tomorrow, if not on Monday.
Okay, no problem. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right.
Have a good night. Okay, and then we have a 7:40 p.m. Public hearing. This is for 241 to 245 Turnpike Road. They requested a continuance.
Correct. Yep.
Continue to the next meeting.
Yes.
So we probably should have a discussion about that first.
What date?
Yeah, so I'm not available that week because it's the kids' spring vacation week. Ben, I think you may be not available as well.
I don't know for sure. It's looking increasingly unlikely that I will be available.
So
Let's see.
do we need to move it sooner, week prior to?
We can either, do the 13th or the 27th would be the week after.
Well, the only thing with the week after is we're not within our 21 days.
We can continue the more than 21 days. It's just for new hearings that, so I think there's only one incoming, and they won't have a problem, I think, because it maybe the stewardship committee, putting it the week after. So it's just getting an extension from whoever submits to have here in 21 days. So that should be okay on that front.
I can't do the 27th. So if we need me there for a quorum, the 13th is preferable for me.
I can do either.
I think I can do either. Let me quickly look.
Ben, do you have a CPC on the 13th?
No.
I thought I forget what day Freddie mentioned.
We have one on the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah, the week before.
How's everybody else situated for the 13th?
13 works for me.
All right, why don't we target the 13th, Melissa, then?
Okay.
So we'd be continuing this to the 13th. Are they going to be okay with that?
No, I was just thinking now that if we have legal ads that need to go in, I don't know if we can get them in time for the 13th.
Oh,
I just thought of that because it's only 2 weeks. Because the deadline's not until Monday to submit applications. And I think that would be cutting it too close because the legal ads would have to be posted next Thursday. They'd have to be in the paper.
so let's see. So for the current date, looks like we wouldn't have myself or Ben.
But we could have one new person.
We could.
If you push it to the
And
week after, it sounds like it's just me who
You're
can't
killing
make it,
me.
right?
I'm sorry. Is there another
This
day?
very well could be my last meeting.
That's not funny.
Oh, stop it.
That's
Hey, why don't you go back and mute?
Is there any other day the week of the 24th that would work instead of Thursday?
I can do
That's
26.
is it, I can't do Monday or Tuesdays.
Okay, 26th is a Wednesday.
You can do that.
I can do that. I can do Wednesday or Thursday. I can't do Monday or Tuesdays at all.
I
Okay.
can do Wednesday. I just might have to turn off my camera occasionally if my kids are whiling out at bedtime.
Understood. Kevin, how does that look for you?
So Wednesday, the 26th. Yeah, that works.
Okay.
I'll aim for the 26th. And if things go wrong, then we'll do the 27th, I guess.
Well, we don't have the room complication that we used to have.
No, we don't. Thank goodness. Yeah, so, okay, I'll plan for the Wednesday, the 26th.
Okay.
That works. Perfect.
All right. So for 241 and 245, then the motion would be to continue to the 26th.
Correct. Yep.
So we need to move that forward. Anita, so moved.
So moved.
I moved.
Second.
Second.
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington.
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Passamato.
Yes.
Okay, all set.
All right. So we have a request for an extension. You're gonna have to walk me through this one.
Yes.
A bunch of DEP numbers and a bunch of addresses.
So Vito is here. So this is basically all of Dairy Farm that we have orders of conditions on, except for the roadway widening of the Northborough Road, because that's already closed out. So essentially, they're just asking to extend all of these. As we've done previously, they all kind of have some weird dates because COVID tolling and things like that. So we have 1017, 1018, 1019, 1021, 1022 for DEP numbers, which relate in order of the addresses as they go along.
And for how long?
Just 1 year.
Just 1 year?
Yep.
Okay. Do we need to take them individually? Or as a group?
You can do them as a group.
Okay. All right, do I hear a motion to extend the order conditions for DEP 290-1017, 1018, 1019, 1021, and 1022, corresponding to 1410, 8, 4, and 6 Dairy Farm Lane for 1 year?
So moved.
Second.
The second, okay, thank you. All in favor?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington.
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Passamato.
Yes. Thanks, Vito.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, Vito.
All right. I'm going to stay around for the next one too.
Okay,
Stuck with us.
this is a request for administrative amendment for a shed at 8 Dairy Farm Lane. We had a lot of Dairy Farm Lanes tonight.
I think Eric is the owner. He's in the attendee list. All right. There we go.
You'd be a wise guy and say, is it a Reed's Ferry?
Personally built.
There we go. All right. Oh.
You want me to bring up the plan, Vito? I have it up. If that's
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can bring it up unless you have it. Mine was frozen for a little bit there. Okay, so this lot, they essentially are done with construction. So this is the as-built plan that you're seeing here. And what they want to do is add a shed right off the end of the driveway. It's within the old limit of work, or the previously approved limit of work. And it would be a 16 by 16 shed. And they wanted to set that on a 20 by 20 concrete slab. So that would be the amendment right there. So when we just showed having silt fence around the back of it, or straw wattles, whichever one the commission thought was better, or both, just during the construction of that, since everything else is stabilized and completed right now. I think that was it.
Very exciting stuff.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions or comments from anybody? No? Well, I would say thank you very much for coming in for an administrative update. Lots of folks don't do that. They just go ahead and put it on, and then we find it later. And then we have to scramble around and deal with it. So thank you very much for doing this ahead of time.
Yep.
I'd say a lot of the homeowners, if not all, dairy farm, especially Mr. Martinson, have been very proactive in reaching out, and any changes that they want to make on their lot. So I give them all, especially the builders as well, recommendations for that, because that's been very nice.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so do I hear a motion to approve the administrative update for 8 Dairy Farm Lane to add
So
the shed
moved.
and the concrete pad to support it?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Kulik,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Gregory.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Yes. It's not a parking lot shed, is it? Only kidding. I've been hearing the Reed's Ferry shed commercials. They're having a spring
Yeah.
sale like crazy on the radio.
Gets in your head.
It does. You can't get it out.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Night.
Okay, next up is request for certificate of compliance, stormwater permit, 147 Middle Road.
Yes. So after talking with the engineer, Peter Bemis, we took all the other lots off the COC requests. They're just not ready. But this particular lot, this is Zach's house. So they are kind of more confident in what's in the ground and what's around. Peter did submit to me a revised as-built that showed elevations and addressed my comments that I initially had. So in this aspect, 147 seems to be fine. And then the other ones, I think, not to say they're dead in the water, but I don't think Peter is going to be moving forward with those. Another entity will have to, whether it's the builder or someone else. That's kind of where it stands.
Okay. So from your perspective, it's all in compliance?
Yeah, this was the one where the filter strips were installed. They had the correct amount of units. The vegetation, I think, is more of an issue on the other lots, but this one does have the required amount. I think it's the staggering within the other lots that I'm a little iffy about. But in terms of 147, this one is okay.
So what about along the driveway?
That one does have it along the driveway. It was 151 that I wasn't sure had it along the driveway.
Right. Because that one's got a pretty long driveway.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a pretty expansive strip of filter of riprap.
Okay. Any other questions?
I recall the discussion about the tree planting along the property line. That's all in place and healthy, and
That's kind of what I had confusion about, and that's kind of what I was talking about in the other lots. There's I guess, a correct number of trees like we had the landscaping plan, but they're not necessarily the same type, and they're all kind of clumped together more towards this end instead of kind of spread out, interspersed. But I haven't heard any. Last I talked to the people on Leeds, and I can definitely follow up again. Was that they were happy with what the amendments for the plantings had been. I haven't heard anything differently from any of others. But in terms of this particular lot, the stipulations for the plantings were more so on 151 and 149.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm just thinking. Sorry. All right. So, any other concerns, questions?
This was one of the lots where it was, is this ground disturbance or is this not ground disturbance, right? Okay. So those days will soon be behind us.
Yeah, and this is the one that's closest to the Cadillac dealer,
Oh, okay.
right? And it's also the one that's closest to the house that's the furthest off the cul-de-sac on Leeds Way. And I do recall that they had some concerns over whether or not, when you mentioned the tree plantings, Bennett, kind of rattled my memory here. They had concerns as to whether or not the trees were going to get planted, where they were going to get planted incorrectly and so forth, and on whose land and this, that, and the other thing. So I guess to Ben's point, are we sure that's all correct?
That's where hold on, let me bring up the plans. I think that would be easier to demonstrate. Just trying to find that supplemental landscape plan.
So when I was thinking that I think I want to go look.
Okay, so this is what the kind of staggered planting plan that we had approved, and the condition was, let me zoom in a little bit, kind of as mitigation for not installing signs because they cleared without a permit. So this, and then, oh my gosh, my computer's freezing now. And then I'll bring up the as-built so you can kind of compare back and forth.
They're all getting the cold from my computer. Thinking about it, so you can kind of see they're all over here. So technically, 157 that we're talking about does have more than the required plantings. They're also labeled as arborvitaes, where our original approvals were kind of for white spruces. The number that's stated in the approval versus the number of dots here didn't quite add up in my calculation. So I did have some kind of questions of what actually the symbols were dictating. So we have more dots than plants?
I think so.
From my perspective, I'd like to go look at this because you can see that it's transversing a couple of different property, lot 3, and it's also going on private property.
Which was the initial thought, to have them.
Yeah, so I'd like to go, before we approve, this is being done. I would like to go look at it to make sure that, the neighbors are involved in this a little bit too, right? Making sure that we're all good, that, we don't say, okay, this is all good and done, and the neighbors come back and say, whoa, I don't have the plants, or I got too many, or whatever. They didn't plant it where they said they're gonna plant or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there any urgency to get this cleaned up?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
I know they just want to, get it off the
sure.
table in general, but
I get that, but
I don't think there's
I
anything.
apologize. I probably should have went out and looked before tonight.
Do we want to wait on that one?
I would prefer to wait. If anybody else wants to move before, that's your prerogative.
It sounds like a good idea. If maybe we can get an explanation of what's going on. It looks like they, the intent was to, there's that central clump of trees that remained, and the intent was to tie in on both sides. It looks like they've done one side of it. And I'm curious if you hear any more from the abutting property owners, frankly, if they're good with it, then I'm good with it, but we just don't know.
Yeah, I'll double confirm. It's been a little while since I talked to them about the planting, so I'll reach back out to them and get their thought.
That one diagram you put up there was kind of like a gray blob. What was that blob? Is that trees?
Yep.
The gray blob?
That was that central clump of woods that was undisturbed, that it sort of ties in from both wings with the new plantings.
Yeah, so that's off their site property, right? It's on neighbors or maybe it's open space or something. I don't know, but it's yeah. All right.
Okay.
Okay, next up is Chestnut Hill Farm agreement on light pole.
I did hear back from DA right before this meeting, and they are perfectly fine with the language that I drafted. It's basically just kind of what we discussed last time, that when the pole needs to be replaced or rectified, it shall be moved within the farmstead envelope. But until that time, it's okay. I did also put in there that this should be included as an attachment of the managed plan until such time that the light pole is moved, which they were fine with as well.
Great job writing that up. You're on your way to being a lawyer, I think.
And did you?
Yeah. Do you have a sense of where we are on the management plan itself?
Yes. Last time I talked with DA, I believe last week or the week before, was that they were having one more meeting with WIT to discuss with their agroecologist about the timing of mowing. I think the discussion has been, the grazing and the timing of which they can go in and the mowing. I think Mr. Beal's perspective is he doesn't really want to have any grazing in there, but it is still an active farm. So they're trying to come to some sort of agreement before they finalize that management plan, to be good neighbors, and, they do respect WIT quite a bit. So I think that's kind of where they are. They want to make sure that WIT's comfortable. He was away, I guess, for a couple weeks, so that delayed a little bit.
Great. No, as long as there's forward motion, I was just curious. Thank you.
Sure. And then I would add signatures at the bottom, and I'll send it to Mark and DA at the trustees, and then everyone will have a lovely signed copy that's pretty clear that it's agreed to.
Okay, did everybody have a chance to take a look at what Melissa put up?
Yes.
For the light pole. Great job, Melissa. Okay, I guess next up is,
Do we want
why
to?
don't we take the town meeting updates?
Do we want to vote on the agreement though?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry. Get ahead of myself. Do I hear a motion to accept the agreement as Melissa has put forward?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, thank you.
Zulik?
Yes.
Barrington?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Yes.
Alfano?
Yes.
Well, town meeting, we got what we needed.
Melissa, thank you very much for spending the entire day there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Ben, you as well.
Oh, thanks. And Melissa, I meant to thank you from the stage. You're the one who put all of the hard work into all of the research and getting this all put together. And basically you made us all look very, very smart and hardworking. And really it was all up to you. And thank you so much for putting all that time into it. It came out, couldn't have hoped for better results. And now the town's got a stormwater bylaw that I think was going to work a lot better.
Yes, I'm very pleased with the outcome of town meeting. Big thanks to Sam Stivers as well for doing the presentation for the dump. He did a great job. There was almost no questions really about the project itself. So that went, very quickly. We let DEP know. I got the draft cleanup plan from Taylor from TRC. So early next week, myself and Mark Purple will just have to sign that off before we send off to the state. And then once they approve that cleanup plan, we have 6 months to get started. So I'm going to meet with the treasurer to discuss borrowing. I think there's going to be like a kind of a 2-step borrowing one just to get the permitting and the bid documents together, and then probably for the cleanup itself. So I'm going to work that out with him. But yeah, otherwise the bylaw amendments were scarily easy. I hate to say easy. I don't want to say easy, but I think people understood. There were some great comments. I think, understanding about the appeals, there's always the concern about equity for residents, if they want to appeal something and the cost to go to court. But I think kind of how Ben stated it, that we're being really consistent with other town practices. And Sam standing up as a former ZBA chair and says, yeah, we don't know anything about stormwater, and kind of helped a little bit. So we will just wait for the AG to approve those approvals from town meeting. I think Jim, the town clerk, said he expects those early July. So once those come into play, I'm just going to take another quick look through our regulations, since we haven't looked at those in a while since we finalized the bylaw. And something I thought about this week is, this is actually going to be a completely new set of regulations. So I actually get to delete all the revision dates because it's a new bylaw. So I'm going to double check that all the references, are correct, because now it's in the general bylaws. And then I'll probably have this on our meeting again in probably a month or 2 months, as we get ready, just to make sure that kind of all the revisions we have are done. So once the AG comes back, we'll post our public hearing notice, and that just has to be posted with the clerks for 2 weeks, and then we can vote on our regulations, and we will have a brand new bylaw. That's about it.
Terrific.
It was a good town meeting. It was long, but it was good.
Out of curiosity, when I got to Article 29 and 30, how full was the auditorium?
It wasn't terribly full, but it wasn't terribly empty. We still had a quorum theoretically, hopefully.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Um,
In the afternoon, when the dump was being done, they had to go into overflow into the cafeteria.
Yeah, definitely overflow stopped after break.
Yeah, and then after they got through the Article 12, and there were a lot of people there for the Algonquin field updates and things, and they realized that it was going to happen until the evening. They emptied out.
Yeah, there was a couple mass exodus.
Yeah. So, anyways, but thank you all for sticking it out. I really appreciate it. It's a marathon.
Marathon. Wetlands next. Woohoo!
What'd you say?
I said wetlands regs next. No bylaws. We're done with bylaws. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Anything else for tonight?
That's it.
Okay, so I'm starting to hear the peepers out there.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, one random thing that I did have, I got a call from a homeowner at 19 Richards. I sent Russ a picture there, and Mark, you might know something about this if you can remember. Between 19 Richards and the development on Watkins, there's a stone wall that goes through the property along the boundary of 19 Richards and 4 Watkins. and that seems to have become plugged. So it's not a town culvert, it's the culvert prior to the roadway. So it is on private property. I've also kind of been talking because at 6 Watkins, they've had abnormally high water bills last couple years, probably from their irrigation. But they probably hadn't have turned it on yet. So we're still kind of looking. I think the DPW went out and did another read because we were kind of talking back and forth to see if that would be it. So I'll have some more information on that. But if you see me on the side of the road with some waders and a long pole, don't worry about it. Everything is fine.
You're not fishing?
In a way, but
Okay.
in Boland's house, so I'm sure he got a laugh this week watching me traverse in there. But that was about it.
I'm trying to remember that.
It sounds there used to be a retaining wall that they replaced, and now it's a stone wall with a culvert through it. So I'm assuming it's an elevation difference because it almost looks like the inlet is on top and not just a straight pipe.
So 19 Richards is on the north side of Richards Road?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Watkins is behind it.
Yep.
Right. And there's the old house in the corner that goes up against SVT, right?
Yep. This is the,
Weber's house, the police chief's house.
I think this is the third house up on Richards.
Third house up,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's not across from John Boland's house. It's one house up.
Pretty
Yeah.
close across.
Across? Okay. Yeah, I don't think I can remember the details.
So this is 19 Richards. And then this is that stream that comes through Watkins. So it's like it's actually like right here, that there's this culvert that's just completely blocked. And there's about 2 feet of water that's behind the stone wall now flooding. So it's like
Oh, really?
coming through the stone wall, coming around. So, it's becoming a little bit of an issue because if it continues to back up, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets pretty close to the road. So myself and DPW were kind of out there staring at it, but I'm going to bring my waders in and see what happens. I didn't get to it this week, but that'll be my fun day.
Okay. Maybe there's a beaver in there. Only kidding.
No, just a lot of prickers. All right.
All right.
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, thank you. So do you hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Philic,
Yes.
Barrington.
Yes.
Gregory.
Yes.
Yes.
Osmato.
Yes.
All right.
Russ is at the club again. Oh, he's back.
I know, I saw that.